My name is Michał Król. I am a student of history, and today I've got a story to tell you. A story about politics and about alcohol. My grandfather used to say that politics and alcohol are only for grown-ups. And yes, they are for grown-ups, but there are some situations where those two things connect with each other, usually in a bad way, but in the story I will tell you today, they manage to create something funny and something cute. Today I would like to talk to you about a political party, a Polish beer lovers party. Basically, you can probably see that we'll be talking about a party that wasn't taking itself quite seriously. And although in history and in today times we had many number of parties which exist simply as a joke or simply create as a satirical way of mocking politics, what's interesting about Polish beer lovers party, or in short name PPPP, they managed to get a couple of seats in the Polish parliament, known as Sejm, during an election of 1991. So today I would like to talk to you about how the party came to be, how they managed to get into the Sejm, what were the policies, and generally talk you about what they were doing in the time the Sejm and how eventually they ended their activity. A quick disclaimer before we start. This presentation is simply educational and in no way serves as a way of encouraging drinking alcohol in any shape or form. It is simply for you to learn about a simple one party which encouraged drinking beer. So before we talk about the PPPP, first we need to understand the political scene in Poland during the 90s. It was an interesting time and you can make a whole other presentation about it. To put it simply, Poland was heading to its first free election after toppling communism. And you may think that people were happy about it. However, the situation wasn't quite like that. People were disappointed in politics because of the bickering in the political scene. This was also a hard time because of economical and political transformation from a communist state to a more democratic capitalist state. So it was pretty hard for people back then. And as I said, the bickering between the parties and the large number of political entities made it that people were resentment to politics as a whole. In the election in 1991, in which you can see the results of, there were about 111 political entities, which is quite a lot for that time and even for this time. And some people had an idea to make this whole situation into a joke. There were many newspapers in which people were mocking politics, making fun of them, many comedical sketches, and so one group of people had an idea to create a party as a joke. To create a party as a joke to make fun of the current state of the politics. These people were some members of popular at the time Pan magazine. Pan magazine was a men's-only magazine, popular in Poland during 80s and 90s. In it, readers could find naked pictures of ladies, pictures of cars, tips on how to fix home equipment, and tips about beer brewing and beer drinking. And some members of Pan magazine had an idea to publish in the newspaper the idea of creating a party centered around beer. They thought that it would be just a harmless joke that people would glass over and simply laugh at. However, they received a lot of letters from readers that they would like to join this new party. And soon, the joke started to become a reality, and soon, the new Polityka group started to look for its leader. And they found one in the form of a popular at the time comedian, Janusz Rewiński. Janusz Rewiński, probably to the Polish audience, is known for his role in films such as Killer and other cinematic masterpieces. However, at the time, he was mostly well known for his role in a comedic sketch known as Beer Scouts. In it, he, dressed in a scout's costume, was comparing milk to beer, saying that milk is healthy for you, milk makes you stronger, healthier, and beer is not healthy for you, it makes you weaker and is bad for your health. The joke of the sketch was that he didn't drink the milk, but while saying that beer is unhealthy, drank it whole in like 3 seconds. So he was a perfect match to be a party's leader. And he agreed to become a leader of a party of beer lovers and used his connections in the film industry to fill the party with all sorts of lawyers, comedians, producers that would help create a legal and economical founding for the party. And that's how the PPPP came to be. And but you may ask, what was the party program? Well, we can look at the party anthem, which goes as follows. Have a beer and another and a third. You can get a bit tipsy. No more of that hard stuff. So just grab yourself a beer. What hangs behind this anthem is simply that the party opted that drinking beer is less harmful for you than drinking vodka. This was a way of battling alcoholism with alcohol. It may sound funny to you, but at the time Poland had a large epidemic of alcoholism caused by vodka consumption, very large. Vodka was the most popular alcoholic beverage at the time. And so the party opted that because vodka is more harmful to you than beer, replacing it with drinking beer would fight alcoholism in Poland. As a result of that, they also wanted to change a drinking culture in Poland, making it more similar like that one of British Irish, like drinking 3-4 beers in pub, going to home, and not getting blasted out drunk because of consuming vodka before and after work. To do that, they also wanted to establish pubs all over the country. So not only they wanted to change this culture, but they wanted to support people in creating business opportunities by establishing pubs and also creating places where people could simply hang out. And also they were for supporting beer brewing industry. They also even established during their promotion a couple of beer brewing industries in northern Poland, in Braniewo and Olsztyn. You can see here we have imprint on the bottle coming from Olsztyn, which encourages buyers to vote for the PPP, because thanks to the PPP, this beer brewer industry was founded. And the party didn't have any other political opinions about economy, politics, international matters. They were simply a party of beer drinkers and beer lovers. In the election of '91, they managed to get quite a score. You can look here. They managed to be the 10th most largest party during the election. I will remind you, during the election, we had about 111 political entities, and they managed to be the 10th most largest party. The 10th most largest party in the country. Also, we can see that they managed to get about 3% of the votes. 3% of the votes, while the winner of the election, Democratic Union, won 12% of the votes. So in the parliament, we had the highest party with 12% of the votes, and PPP with 3% of the votes. So that 3% really mattered for them. So they had a say in politics at the time. You may ask, but how did they do it? Well, a couple of things happened. Firstly, we can see this map, which I made. This is a map showcasing regions, voting regions in Poland at the time, where the party managed to get the most amount of votes. In those regions were the most active ones. Like here in Kłodzko, you can see Kłodzko here. They opened a second pub here, so it also was a way of promoting themselves. And generally speaking, in those darker regions where they got the most amount of votes, they were the most active. What else helped them was a low turnout in the election as a whole. Generally speaking, it was the lowest, or maybe second lowest election by turnout in Polish history, because only 43% of voters voted in the election. So with less votes, the votes counted of the party mattered more, and thus they had a higher percentage in the end. Also, what helped them was a political fragmentation. With this many parties fighting one another, this made it more simply for them to get some voters for them, because major parties were competing with another, so they had it much easier. Also, the popularity of the party. The party was quite popular because of the comedic, satirical nature, and also because of Janusz Lewiński, who became the face of the party and brought a lot of joy to people at this time. So, they managed to get into the Sejm. And what they did in Sejm? Well, they stayed true to the political program. They managed to establish pubs all over the country in some places. The biggest accomplishment was establishing a pub in Łódź. Łódź was at the time the third largest city in Poland. So establishing a pub in the third largest city in the country was quite an achievement. Also, they were famous for the press meetings, party meetings, which were also filled with beer and other forms of entertainment. You can see there, this is the official picture of the press meeting. They weren't shy about drinking beer in public. And basically all the pictures you can find about the party members were standing with a beer bottle or a glass of beer. Also, during the time the same, there were many comedic situations, like one time Rewinski went on stage and said that, with no context whatsoever, he said that a drunk redhead walking down the street is bad for 2 reasons. Firstly, he's drunk, secondly, he's a redhead. This was very simply joking insane. They didn't care about what people thought about them. Also, another achievement was establishing their own magazine. It was called PPPP magazine. PPPP coming from the name of the party. We have a party named PPPP, and we had a magazine PPPP. The joke writes itself. The commercial of PPPP magazine was quite iconic because it lasted about 7 seconds, and it went as follows: buy PPPP, by buying it you make urban mad. It was referring to a controversial at the time figure of Jerzy Urban, a former propaganda minister during the communism era. And although he was very angry about this commercial, his attempts to put the magazine down went successful, and the magazine was published. So, generally speaking, things were looking good for the party of beer drinkers. However, this didn't stop the initial infighting which occurred in the party, and was the main reason why the party broke apart. The first split in the party emerged right after getting seats in the parliament. It was commonly dubbed because the party is split into 2 groups: small beer faction and big beer faction. Big beer faction, centered around Rewinski, wanted to remain a comedic party of beer drinkers, while a small beer faction wanted to change the more serious political party to focus on economic and other things, more serious things. Eventually, the small beer faction left and joined other same clubs. Although by losing some members, the party remained strong as a whole. A small party, but still they remained a strong entity. However, the largest blow came from its leader, Rewinski himself. To his unknowing colleagues, before the election of '93, he joined the newly created Sejm Club, and he didn't inform his party members about it. They found out about it and asked him why didn't he tell them that he became a leader in other political group. And he lied, saying that he had no idea that he was made a leader of it, and probably must have been a mistake. They catched his lie and didn't forgive him that, and he was soon voted out of his position as a party leader, which was a large blow to the party because Rewinski was the face of it. And this led to a maybe not growing, but more growing unpopularity of the party. We're losing people who liked them, and the political scene was changing with people treating politics more seriously. Although they didn't give up then. They tried to fight back and found a new leader in the form of Kazimierz Górski, a former sports presenter, known for his love of strong beers like porter and lager. However, he wasn't quite as popular as Rewinski, and the party didn't win any serious votes in the '93 election, only winning about 0.10% of the votes, this meaning that they didn't get a place in the Sejm this time. And after that loss, the party ceased to exist, they ceased their political activity and disbanded. So that was the end of the PPP, but what remains of them is quite interesting. Firstly, they still have social media. This is a picture of the Facebook site and their site on Twitter. Although I'm not quite sure if these sites actually came from party members or just fan-made, but they post some interesting stuff like things about party history, some articles, some old photos, some even sell some accessories from the party members, and usually post funny memes. Also, the party, generally speaking, remains very fond of in memory of today's people. If you ask many people living in the 90s about this party, they look at it as a fun party of beer drinkers, which brought a lot of joy during that time. Even during the time the same, other politicians treated them like funny guys. They visited them, hung out with them, and treated them as funny and uplifting people. And some people jokingly say that this was the only party in Polish history which stayed true to the political program and didn't leave his voters out. But this is a simple joke. So that would be it, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Michał. It was really interesting. I, of course, have a question. Was it helpful for the drinking culture in Poland? Was it changed? Really, like statistical studies, maybe something like that.
Well, maybe not statistical, but the drinking culture had changed. If you compare 90s and time before that to the current drinking culture, it's changed because during the 90s and the communism, the most consumed alcohol was vodka. And nowadays, I think the pub drinking culture became more popular. We still have a problem in alcoholism if you look at statistics. However, things are probably changing, and it's more common for seeing normal people with beer than vodka. So, in that way, they probably succeeded. Although it's not only like their achievement, because it was just basically a whole system changing. But they had a say in it, and yeah, the system changed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Some questions? No questions?
If this party was still existed, would you like to change it? Would you like to dołączyć do nich? To join them?
That's a private question, but I think yeah.
So they're a young group.
If there was a young group of this party, well, if the meetings were similar to that ones of the same meetings, probably, yeah, I think I would join.
Thank you. Someone else?
I'm just wondering, do you know what happened to the members of the party after they lost elections?
That depends on the members, because Rewinski, after leaving the party, he stayed out from the politics, and his only contact with politics came when he was vocally supporting Law and Justice Party. That was the one reason, one person. The second in command of the party, Leszek Hubiel, also after disbanding the parties, tried to create a new one, still centered around beer. However, this wasn't successful, and he was jailed for anti-Semitic remarks in his song Antisemitopolo. So yeah, that's the two main members which I know. Kazimierz Górski left the party and died because of old age. However, there were some members who are still active, like we had a popular presenter, Krzysztof Ibisz, who was a member of this party, and he's still presenting in television, and one politician, Cookies, I remember correctly, started in this party and was active in politics, and probably is still active to this day, but not as much as back then.
Anyone else? Nobody.
I have a question. I don't know, maybe you don't know this information, but was something like this happening in other countries? Were there any similar parties in other countries around the world?
Well, while preparing this presentation, I came across a book named, I don't remember the name correctly, but it was about like a bottle of history. It was basically a history of alcohol. And while reading about this party, there were some similar movements in many post-communist, post-Soviet countries, but they didn't catch this attention. But from what I know, the beer drinkers party were like established also in Czechoslovakia at the time, Romania and Ukraine even. However, they weren't quite as successful in these elections in their home countries like this one. And generally speaking, other the beer drinkers party, there were a lot of other parties in history in general which had an unserious program and wanted to be simply satirical. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. So.